Welcome back, class. Today we're going to be talking about integers and how we subtract integers. So just a quick review of what integers are. We'll start with what real numbers are. So real numbers are numbers that you can count on. 0, 1, 2, 3, 10, 35, so forth. Whole numbers include the number 0. So you have 0, 1, 2, 15. Keep on counting. Now integers include those numbers and their opposites. So if I have a positive 4, the opposite of that would be a negative 4. If I have a negative 14, the opposite of that would be a positive 14. So looking at why we use integers, why we study integers, we just got to look for a few real-world examples. So a couple of examples are things like heat, where if you look at a thermometer and the temperature goes up, we're looking at positive integers, or if it goes down, or if it's in the negatives because it's really cold out, we'd be using negative integers. A couple other examples are things like sports, where a football team might be gaining or losing yards based on the play, or if you're in an elevator and you're above or below ground level. Another real good example, maybe a little more motivating for young students like yourself, would be money. It's a good example of how we use integers and why we use integers. If we're earning money and gaining money, we'd be using positive integers, or if we're spending money or if we're losing money, maybe you misplace your wallet, we'd be using negative integers. So when I was growing up, my mom actually used a whole bunch of candy to teach my brother and I how to count, how to learn our colors and things like that. So today I got some M&Ms and we're going to use those as manipulatives to show positives and negatives. So I'm going to use here the green mint M&Ms for our negatives, and I'm going to use the rainbow ones here for our positives. So we're going to do a quick review of addition to show how these manipulatives kind of work, just to do a refresher of working with integers, and then we're going to move on to how to do subtraction. So my first problem is 5 plus positive 2. So I got 5 positives, and I'm going to add 2 more, giving me 7 positives. Next problem would be 5 plus negative 2, or 5 plus 2 negatives. So here I got my 5 positives, now I'm going to add 2 negatives. So here what I've created is a 0 pair. So a 0 pair is when we have a positive and a negative, which cancels out to be 0. So if we looked at a number line, we could have the number 0 right in the middle, and everything to the right would be positive, and everything to the left would be negative. So here if I have go to the right 2, and then my negative saying go to the left 2, then I'd be right back at 0. You could look at it one by one too, of go to the right 1, go to the left 1, where I'd be ending up to 0. So if I have the same number here of positives and negatives, I'm creating a 0 pair. So I have my 5 positives and my 2 negatives, which gives me 3 positives left over. So next we're going to use another problem of negative 2 plus negative 2. So I have 2 negatives, and I'm going to add 2 more negatives. This gives me 4 negatives. Now if I do a similar problem of negative 2 minus positive 2, I'd start with my 2 negatives here, but now how do I take away 2 positives? I don't have any. What I can do is zero in a positive and negative, where I now have a 0 pair. Now I have a positive I could take away, and I still have the starting value of negative 2. I can zero in a second pair. Now I have the 2 positives that I can take away. So the original problem of negative 2 minus 2, I take away those 2 positives, which gives me 4 negatives. Next we're going to look at 8 minus 6. 8 minus negative 6. So I have 8 positives, and I'm going to take away 6 negatives. Again, I don't have any negatives that I can take away, but I can zero in. is one zero pair and another one. Do I have enough positives or negatives that I can take away? Not yet, so I can keep on going. Now I have 6 negatives. Now what would happen if I had one more zero pair? Well, I just has 0. So if I just do the ones I need of 6, then I'm just saving myself time. But you can keep on going and do 20 zero pairs. You'll still be able to solve the problem and get the same answer. So here I have 8 minus 6 negatives. So here I have my 6 negatives, and I'm going to take those away, which gives me 14 positives. Looking at a similar problem, it'd be 8 positives plus 6 positives. So here I group those 6, and then they're going to start rolling. I group the 6 right here. 8 plus 6 gives me 14. So kind of explaining a little bit more on that zero pair, I could take away a positive, which would be -1, or I could add a negative, which this just zeroes out. So that kind of explains how the integers work and why we're able to zero in and out different pairs. So I have here a practice problem for you of -2 minus 8. And I'll let you try that on your own, and feel free to use the manipulatives or your own M&Ms.